Hello, I'm Gina and welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to be creating some more furniture for the 70s interior, and I'm actually going in a slightly different direction with more of a design piece of furniture, which is actually a Wassily chair. I really wanted to create this to put into the dining room and just as a couple of occasional chairs into that space, because with the dining room table it doesn't quite fill up the space as well as what I would like, and it was in my original thought process or design when I was pulling the room together, although at that point I had no idea how I was going to create the chair, but I knew that I wanted to. Come along on this journey with me. It's another little experiment. You know how much I love experiments, so let's get started. So this is a little test piece that I did with a bit of wire. It's all a bit wonky and it's only glued together with hot glue. But I just wanted to see if the pattern and design that I'd created would work. And for the most part it did. There was just a few things that I needed to change. One was to try and get as even as possible, because I actually want to create two of these little chairs. So here I've actually created a little bit of a jig where I've got the pattern or the design marked out on the graph paper, and then I've just drilled a couple of holes into a piece of wood, well, it's actually chipboard, and just to add some pin nails in, and I'm using this as a way to bend the wire around so that I get some consistency across the chair. And yeah, so I just sort of worked my way through, just bending it backwards and forwards, just trying to get it as the bends and the corners as tight as possible. So this took a little bit of practice, a little bit of backwards and forwards, a little bit of bending and then rebending it, so to get it into the shape that I was looking for. But all in all, it sort of comes together reasonably easy, which is great. And then I've just got about 5 pieces all up to create. So this main piece is the more complicated piece. The wee U-shaped piece down the bottom there is a second piece. There's a couple of straight pieces, which are obviously very easy to do. Just got to make sure that the wire's straight and cut them to length. And then there's a third piece which actually creates the back of the chair, but the whole process is exactly the same. I'm just using the pattern on the graph paper with the jig that I've created with the pin nails, and just working my way around and just making sure that I can get that bent to shape as close to the pattern design as I possibly can. So this is another piece that I need to create. This actually creates the back of the chair, and it's got a little bit of a gap in between, so it's not a complete square. And so I'm just using the same process as I've done for the other pieces, and just use this little jig to try and bend it round as close to the pattern as I possibly can, so that at least I know that it's all going to fit together. So to glue the chair together, all I'm using here is a little bit of super glue. This is sort of a liquid-based super glue. A gel super glue would actually probably work a little bit better because it would hold in place. But this actually works perfectly fine, and it's just a matter of holding it until it sort of sets off a little bit. So I've just glued the back piece and the seat piece together first, that you can see sitting up against the machine block there, and then I've glued the side pieces into the main part of the chair. So I'm just going to let them sort of set up a bit first, and while that's happening I'm just painting a piece of black fabric with some Mod Podge to create a bit of a faux leather type of look. The reason why I do it like that is because it adds a little bit of sheen to the fabric, but also as I cut away some of the edges, then it's not going to fray, which is fantastic. So I'm not having to double over the fabric. This bit was a little bit fiddly, trying to get the two pieces to connect together. So just the back piece connects to the two side pieces on the chair, and then the seat piece connects to the very front piece of the chair as well. So a little bit hard to explain. Hopefully the picture, you can sort of see how it all kind of fits together there. And that was one of the reasons why creating the jig. It was what I learned from doing the first test piece, which was all put together by super glue, which obviously isn't going to last. But it was, like I say, it was just a bit of a test piece, so it didn't matter too much. But yeah, just making sure that the sizes were as close to the pattern as possible just allowed everything to fit together as best I possibly could. So I'm just going to put that aside and let that dry and move on to the fabric. So now that that Mod Podge is sort of dried off a little bit, I'm just going to cut this into strips. So this is my sort of faux leather for the chair. So I've cut a couple of smaller strips, and then I'm going to cut a wider strip for the seat as well. And then I'm just going to start gluing them onto the chair. So I'm just going to use super glue again and just work my way around creating the arm detail, the back detail, and then the seat. So I think all up there's about 5 different straps that go onto it. This looks really fiddly, but actually it came together reasonably easy. And I think the hardest part was actually my patience and waiting for the glue to dry. So I'm always trying to rush these things, and I'm wanting them done as quickly as possible. This is super glue, and I know that I could get an accelerator if I wanted to, but I didn't have any on hand at the time. And so yeah, I just had to wait just a little bit. Super glue doesn't take too long to go off, which is one of the great things about it. And I just glued a little bit to the wire of the chair so that the arms and the leather straps don't move around once they're glued into place. So once I've got all the back detail and the arm details on, it's just moving on to the seat, and this is where the whole project starts to come together and really look like a Wassily chair. So I'm really pleased with how this has actually turned out and pulled together. It was a little bit of an experiment. You know me, I love my experiments, and I'm really pleased with the look. Definitely looks like a Wassily chair. And I think if I was going to do this again, I'd give soldering a go. I think it would work really well with the metal, and it would be just another skill to have underneath my belt. So there we go, it's all finished, and I am so happy with how it's turned out. It looks great in the dining room, which is exactly where I wanted it to go. All I need to do now is create a little coffee table. I've kind of been playing around with a couple of ideas, and I will land on something shortly, I'm sure. So if you like this video and you've come this far, consider hitting that like button, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and turn that bell notification on so you get notified when I upload any new videos. And also I've added a couple more videos at the end that I think that you might like, and until next time, I'll see you then. Bye for now.